Let's speak to Farah London, former London mayoral candidate. Farah, good afternoon to you. Nice to have you with us. I mean, this is, in one respect, we can go, hey, this is fantastic. But actually, there's a lot of money been wasted in all of this. It should never have got to this point.
Ian, honestly, this is such a victory. I have campaigned about LTNs across all over 32 boroughs. I've spoken to residents, to businesses who have been impacted. And in particular, I'm originally from Croydon, so it's even more personal to me that Croydon won this victory because they've been fighting hard for many, many years. And listening to the residents, it was just created for many different reasons. They said it was obviously for the environment, but it wasn't true. They were creating division within communities, gated communities. They were isolating the vulnerable, the elderly, the disabled, who could no longer get there. People could no longer get to the hospital quick enough. They'd have to take these ridiculous, instead of a 10-minute journey, it would take them 40 minutes to get to the hospital in emergencies. So I can go on and on.
The low traffic neighbourhood thing is a bit of an umbrella term, isn't it? Because different places run them in different ways. Some just completely close off roads. Others put cameras in. Others, like, for example, in the centre of London, where you can't even go in if you have a certain kind of car, etc. Or if you do, you have to pay a charge for it. So there's a sort of variety of methods. What was Croydon's main contention then when they set these up? I mentioned it in the beginning. This was sort of about the environment. Is that the game they played? We're going to save the world.
This was the game all the councils played. What they did during the pandemic, they took advantage that people were not paying attention, weren't outside, and all of a sudden overnight we had across London installed these low traffic neighbourhoods. You saw the planters. Now, what we're talking about, the fines, is where the council has been using the ANPR cameras that police use. And the way they fixed it, they just fine people that go through, but they don't put visible sign. So the signage was very poor. So therefore, people were getting fined all the time. And it's just criminal that they got away with it. Now, Enfield, I know that council, I think in 1 year, made around 3 million just on fines. Wow. It's shocking. It's a cash guzzler. It's exactly what it was. They were making money across London. It's not only in Croydon, it was happening across London. And nothing was being done because the councils aren't being held accountable by the Mayor of London. And that's the biggest problem. They act like a little cartel doing whatever they want because no one is holding them accountable. And they got away with it for so long. But thank God, things are changing. Yeah,
it's just an extraordinary amount of money. They went to an extraordinary amount of effort. And as the ruling decreed, and I mentioned it there in the introduction, Farah, they said that this was primarily a cash cow, not for the, quote, modest environmental benefits claimed.
It actually causes more environmental pollution because if you think about it logically, if you're putting people on longer journeys, therefore you're increasing the amount of pollution in the air.
Yeah.
So like I said, a 10-minute journey will take 40 minutes. So logically, there was no logic to the LTN system. And this is why, even I went to Islington once, and this is shocking. Yes, exactly. These planters. This is shocking. In Islington, a local resident would padlock so that even the fire engines, no one could get through. He would put padlocks there.
Wow.
Private padlocks.
So to literally stop anyone squeezing between the planters, is that right?
Absolutely.
So they put their own kind of chain across it. So somebody comes along, a paramedic comes along, because else he's had a fall and you can't get over there.
He would padlock the boulders so that the police would have to send, fire brigade to break the padlocks. That's why, communities became divided. People love their closed little neighbourhood. Even as a woman or even as a grown man, you'd be going down these very quiet streets all of a sudden and feel scared because, you were just all of a sudden isolated. So, again, I've talked about the vulnerabilities of the elderly where they would have to get dropped off. They couldn't get to their homes. And you can imagine it's difficult as a disabled person as well. So
Yeah, and we've heard of, cab drivers, black cab drivers, which the last time I looked are a crucial part of London's transportation system. Not always acknowledged by the mayor, but that's literally, in terms of surface transport, they are key. And so many stories from those guys who, couldn't pick somebody out to park half a mile down the road to pick someone up because they couldn't get into their road to do it. And similarly when dropping off.
Exactly. So that's why when you look at all the devastation it's caused across communities for over 6 years, and it's not justified, and it really has just been a cash cow. Councils have profited, people have paid ridiculous amount in fines, and communities have really suffered. I spoke when neighbours have stopped talking to one another because of the LTNs.
Because it's divided the room.
It completely divided communities.
And one here from Roberto, who says it's the same with the 20-mile-an-hour limits in London as well, and of course elsewhere, has a sort of similar effect, doesn't it? We all support somebody slowing down outside schools and hospitals, and in a rat run of houses. You don't want a boy racer with a Subaru going 50 down there. It all makes sense, but this sort of almost blanket rollout of 20 miles an hour is insane.
The problem is London is a moving city, and the people who are making these rules, and I have to again blame the mayor's office, they don't understand how society is functioning. Even when they put these ridiculous environmental fines on the wider Greater London, they just don't understand. People can't afford to live even these days, and you're putting so many fines on them. Another problem happened with lots of businesses. People could no longer access the high street.
Yeah.
So if you look at Tooting High Street, they basically blocked any access onto the main road. So businesses lost thousands and thousands of pounds. So you're not only affecting the residents, you're affecting the local businesses who've closed down. And I've heard so many heartbreaking stories. People who've been there for over 25 years had to close their shop down.
Yeah. Because nobody could get anywhere near it. I mean, it's just these are just obvious stories. You might think that that those in charge, the mayor's office and all the sort of transportation advisors, somebody would be able to spot this. It's kind of sixth form stuff, that you could work this out. All the reasons we've discussed here this afternoon. The problem, of course, these people are wedded to this sort of green ideology, which that they genuinely believe either they're saving the planet and therefore it makes them a nicer person because of that. So you can't go, oh, well, I've got to walk further to the shops, because they'll say, we're saving the world here. Your extra walk to the shop makes no odds to anybody. Go away. We're saving planet Earth. They think like that. So it's very hard to kind of penetrate this sort of, supremely illogical position that is profoundly wrong.
What you're saying is common sense, exactly, sixth form common sense. But what they're trying to do is frustrate drivers, so drivers stop using their cars.
Yeah.
But then if you look at public transport, that's not very accessible, is it? And if you look at the pollution within the London Underground itself, it's horrific.
I mean, there is
scary.
Absolutely. If this was all about, I appreciate that, closing down an underground system would be, suicide for a city. However, if you were really that bothered, human health, and then you get all these statistics, since the mayor put the cameras in, 7,000 more people have lived that would have died. This is nonsense. There's nothing that backs that up. These are statistical constructs that are designed to seduce the stupid, and that it kind of works. The London Underground absolutely is where the problems are when it comes to health.
Absolutely. I've actually looked at shocking reports on the amount of pollution in the London Underground, but that's never been addressed. That's not reported. But then they talk about cars causing pollution, and you're talking about going electric, but you don't have the infrastructure to go electric.
True.
People can't charge their cars. So yes, let's go green, but then put the infrastructure in so we can go green. Make it affordable. It's just complete mess. The mayor's office doesn't know what they're doing, which is apparent. We've just discussed logically, if you're making people drive for longer, aren't you causing more pollution in the air? Again, common sense.
Yeah.
So common sense is lacking. That's what's lacking in politics, common sense.
But it seems to be a qualification, or a lack of common sense seems to be a qualification for the top jobs, it seems. Either that or decent people suddenly, as I said to an earlier guest, you get the job and then you get injected with a serum that removes all common sense and logic, and then you're fit to govern. And that's how you come up with daft decisions like sticking LTNs in places that really don't need them. Listen, Farah, we will speak again. Thank you for coming on with us. Farah London, who's a former London mayor candidate. Great to have you.